What's going on, everybody? Hey, welcome back to this episode of How To Tuesday. This is George, as always. Of course, I got my man Casey with me, and we got a good one for you today. One that could be controversial, if you want to call it. It could be an argument, if you want to call it, or it could just be flat out fun. So we're going to talk today about small block versus big block. And keeping it in the context right off the bat, you know, Casey and I's main goal is to make sure we're speaking at a rookie class for the most part. And a lot of us out here are looking on Racing Junk and actually Rhino.co for a car, either rolling or turnkey. Most of the time, we run into those rolling cars because we might already have a small block sitting in the garage or a big block that we found sitting in the garage already. So this particular amount of information is going to be good for those of us who already have an engine and looking for a rolling chassis. Oh, Casey, how's it going, man? How you been?
Man, so far so good, man. But I think rule number one, as far as whenever you're making this determination, is number one, what came out of your car to begin with, because it's always going to be cheaper to put in. If it was a small block car, put a small block back in it. You don't need new motor plates, you don't need new motor mounts, etc. You already know it'll fit because it was already in there. Number two, whatever car you're buying, don't try to overpower whatever it is if you're going bracket racing. Don't try to put a 632 Big Chief motor in your back half car. You're not going to do very well in that. Maybe you'll luck your way through, or maybe you know how to make your back half car run 520s consistently, but I know there's a lot of us that don't. Number two, if you're buying a chassis car, meaning a pro stock style car, if you got like a mild steel stock wheelbase type car, 5.0s or so is probably going to get right at your limit. After you get into the fours, you're going to really wish you had that extended wheelbase about 400, 450 feet out, I can assure you. Dad's Camaro was a mild steel car, and whenever it was going 520s and real close to teens, that thing, he said, started getting real squirrely down there at the end, and he was kind of wondering about it, if it was quite a good idea to go that quick in that type of car. But if you have your best bet, man, if you just want something that all out, you can do whatever you want with. You can go slow, you can go fast. Buy an old 20-year-old dragster like what we started this channel with. If it's 6.0 certified, I guarantee you that chassis is more technologically advanced than what Perdome was running back in the day. And when Garlett's hit 200 and stuff like that, I think you're fine. So, George, I know you and I are kind of adversaries here about small blocks versus big blocks. I know you're a fan of the small block. I'm a fan of the big block. Let's get into that, and let's tell some people what we think.
Yeah. Coming up, and even now, I'm honest with you. Number one, I love the sound of a small block motor. The whining, the musical instrument that thing is playing.
9,000 RPM.
Oh, my God. It's a wonderful sound to my ears. My uncle has probably what I would call the baddest small block I've ever seen personally, right? 414 cubic inches, and it'll grace the 430s. Naturally aspirated, okay? I'm not talking about a shot of nitrous or a nitrous setup or a blower or a turbo or anything on the side of that thing. I'm talking naturally aspirated 414 cubic inches of unbelievable small block power, okay? So that motor's probably pretty expensive. The main argument between small block and big block is that, and this could be a myth, so if you think it's a myth, let me know in the chat, but small blocks are cheaper than big blocks. And I believe that to be quite a bit pretty true. You know, you can get your 383 or your 406 small block. It's going to be, number one, it's going to be super light, okay? You're going to run a little better because it's light. And then number two, it's going to be pretty cheap. I know myself, I got a 368 in my car, so, I mean, the main thing I'm looking for when we talk about bracket racing is that one C word that everybody loves in the sport of bracket racing: consistency. So as long as that thing repeats the number, I don't care if it's a 268 and I run 990 in the eighth mile. I don't care as long as it does it over and over again. So certainly, don't get me wrong. You can get small blocks up into the 800s and the 900s and the 1,000 horsepower range, but how deep are your wallet? How deep the wallet is going to be the tester. So I don't know, I'm kind of partial to both. As you know, my dad has a pretty big 622 sitting on the back of his dragster. and hey, it moves pretty fast too. So I don't know what else. What do you think, man, on the big block side of things? I know you're a fan of big blocks.
Man, I'd say the big block side of things is number one. The number one rule whenever you're building any kind of race engine is there's no replacement for displacement. I'm sure everybody has heard that phrase. At the end of the day, you're always better off building the biggest motor you can afford because at the end of the day, horsepower is a function of torque, meaning that the more torque you make, the more horsepower you have the ability to make. And torque can be thought of as torque is actually what gets you going. Horsepower is what gets you there.
So time out. You're saying a big block makes more torque than a small block?
Because of the stroke,
Huh.
because of the length of the crank. So your normal 454 Chevy that would be like in an old truck has a 4-inch stroke crank, I'm pretty sure. I think that's the biggest crank you can put in a small block, and you probably got to have a dart block to do it, but that would be like your 427 or your 434 small block. I think nowadays, like the LS type blocks, I think they can go up to like 477s or something. But guys like us, we're not going to be able to afford that type of stuff. So I would say 383 or 406 small block or 468, 496 big block. Those are going to be kind of your bread and butter cheap motors that'll really get you going. Just remember, though, if you build a big block and you're trying to actually build something that's going to be, I guess, the fastest thing you can afford, just remember you're going to have to overcome that extra 200 pounds or maybe 250 pounds that big block weighs. So you need to make that extra power to even be equivalent to that small block.
Very true, very true. And I can be honest with you. I know a few 496s that sit in my shop right now, and my dad's there. And don't just think that because it's 496 and it's not 598 or 622 or 632 that you can't get in the 530s and the 520s and 5 teens even. It's a fallacy. I promise you, you can get it there. Now it's doing it in a chassis car and not necessarily a back half car, but don't just think because I got a smaller big block that you can't make it turn pretty quick. What do you think, Casey? Is that a true statement, or do you think it's false?
No, I'd say that's exactly right because it's a matter of motor size is one thing, but the big thing that really that's the big home run that you can do is spend as much money on the cylinder heads as you possibly can, no matter what you have. Because if you have a really, really good head, that's how these comp eliminator cars go so fast with these itty bitty motors. I mean, I'm pretty sure Rampy in that altered, I mean, it probably doesn't weigh anything, but that altered, I think, goes like low 7s, and he's probably only got like a 363 in that to begin with. That's all cylinder head technology, all of it.
True. And the cylinder head is definitely spot on. So if you're wanting to move, you spend quite a bit of money in the cylinder head area of whatever motor you're in, you're going to move. So exactly. Definitely a subject that I think we could go a whole lot deeper in, Casey. I mean, one day we probably ought to, and if you guys want it, certainly leave us a comment in the chat, let us know. But we definitely want to get off into maybe a live stream on this subject. I think we could probably go an hour, maybe 5 hours on the subject if we wanted to. So big shout out to those of you who sent that message into the inbox for the Going Bracket Racing team to kind of do a how-to on. What do you think, Casey? We got any more kind of nuggets that we can use to give out? You know, I know that if you buy a car that's small block, it's really going to be hard conversion-wise to try to put a big block in there. And it might not necessarily be hard as it is money. It's going to be quite a bit of money.
Well, at the end of the day, like you said, it might not necessarily be a hard thing to do. It depends on your skill set. But the one thing that everybody can do is put something back where it came out of. So that's kind of why I say if you're going to, more so than anything, just talking in layman's terms, if you're just a normal guy and you're an average guy and you don't know how to do fab work and all this kind of stuff, it's not that big of a deal to put a big block in a small block car or vice versa. But if you are new and you're doing this on your own and you don't really have any help or any guidance, just put something back in that came out and think about it. At least it'll get you going for now.
It makes a lot of sense. And certainly the main thing we need to worry about is we're bracket racing. Build you something consistent. Get out there and have some fun. Get your data. Certainly if you have any questions, though, more how-tos that you need and, give us a shout on the Facebook page at Going Bracket Racing. And Casey and I both see those messages. One of us is going to answer you quite quick because it's about drag racing, and that's what we want to talk about anyway. Even if we're working, as long as my boss is not listening to this, I'm probably going to answer you anyway. If you're listening, boss, hey, I answered somebody's drag racing question while I was at work, and I just don't care. So, but for now, I guess we'll see you guys. Not next Tuesday, but I guess it'll be the Friday after that, won't it? We'll be on a live stream again. What do you think?
Right. Yep. Sounds good to me, man.
And for now, of course, we thank you guys for tuning in. If you certainly have any questions, give us a shout, and we'll yell at you next time. Thanks for joining in this episode of How To Tuesday, Going Bracket Racing YouTube channel. Thanks, guys.